Okay, in this video we're going to take a look at the diagnostic process and troubleshooting process for the TransTrax remote lane carrier system. This process can be applied to all three of the TransTrax models with minor variation. Today we're going to look at this particular test model is using the captive carrier pharmacy unit. First thing you're going to want to do is check the location of the carrier. Is it out at the lane? Is it at the teller station? Is it up in the ceiling? Make note of that. Then you want to check the carrier itself, make sure it's attached to the tape appropriately, check and see if the doors are stuck open, any issues like that, make note of it. Once we do that initial assessment, then we're going to take a look at the electronics and run diagnostics from there. And once you take a look at the board, you're going to see just how easy that process is. The first thing we're going to do is make sure the power is off, looking at the switch underneath the unit here. Then we're going to open the left panel. Now we can see the control board. We want to look at all of the wiring and make sure it's properly connected. So you've got 5 harnesses up here. You're going to check the brake wire for captive carrier or the pharmacy unit. You've got the power to the unit here, and then you've got the motor here, so make sure all of that's secure and working properly. Once we do that, we can turn the power to the unit back on. You're going to want to watch for these lights up here and count the flashing lights here for the hardware version. Tech support might need to know that. If you don't get any lights on over here, that means you don't have any power from the building to this unit. So we're going to flip the power on, see the flashing light, and you've got the power to the board indicated here. Okay, so when we take a look at the control board, every function of this machine, every button, every sensor has a corresponding diagnostic LED light. So this control board is laid out in a manner that's very easy to read, even for someone who's not mechanically inclined, such as myself. When we start the diagnostic process, we want to make sure all of these lights, the 2 teller, 2 truck limit, car limit, everything that's tied to function here, we want to make sure all these lights except for power are off. That's going to help us understand where the problem actually is. So we're going to start there. Okay, so as we run through our diagnostics, it does not matter if this counter light, formerly called the chain light, it says counter on the newer boards, doesn't matter if that light's on or not. So what we're going to do is walk through all the buttons on the interface, except for the power button for the moment, and make sure all of these lights light up like they should. So we're going to start with the car button. You can see the car light coming on up here. We're going to look at the truck height. Indicator comes on, goes off when we release the button. We've got the recall. Light goes on, light goes off when we release. So that's checking the inside of the teller unit. Everything looks good there. Okay, once we've checked all of the teller console buttons, you're going to want to have an assistant out in the lane who wants to press the send button out there. We're going to make sure that that light comes on. So that light came on, so we're all good out in the lane. The next thing we want to test are the proximity switches or the FM switches. We've moved the carrier now, so those are exposed and we can test those. You're going to want to do this for the teller station and both outside of the lane station. So again, you'll need an assistant out there to do that, but the process is the same. So we're going to take a test magnet and we're just going to check each of the switches. Light should come on. Light should come on. This test will only work on one side of the magnet, not both. So if it doesn't work on one side, flip it over, try it with the other side. If it doesn't work on either side, then you have an issue with the switch. So we've got our assistant out in the lane, testing the proximity switches. On the outside unit, you can see the light comes on and the car limit light comes on, so we're all good out there. If you're running diagnostics on the captive carrier or pharmacy TransTrax unit, you're going to want to check the brakes. So we've jumped over to the right side of the console and now we're looking at the brake panel, and I've got the brake board open here. Clearly labeled push to release brake. Now when I press this button, I want to hear a click in the system, the actuation of the brake. There's going to be a light that comes on here. You're going to see 2 lights on the main circuit board. So all those lights are on. When I release it, those lights should extinguish. if everything's working right. When I have that on, I should also be able to move the carrier as well. Okay, the next thing we're going to check is the functionality of the motor system. So to do that, we're going to use this jog enable button. That's going to allow us to send and recall by the carrier itself by bypassing any of the sensors. So I'm going to press this button, jog enable button. I'm going to send the unit, and I'm going to recall the unit. If that works, the motor system is functioning properly. Okay, so at this point in our diagnostics evaluation, we've checked the teller button functionality, we've checked the circuit board, we've checked the motor, we've checked the brake. So now we're ready to test the machine with the power on the teller unit and make sure everything's functioning properly. So we're going to turn the power on. We're going to send out the car height. And then we're going to check the truck height, and then we're going to recall the carrier. At this point, everything looks like it's working fine, and we should be good to go.